Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are now racing towards their parties' respective nominations and thus a potential general election matchup come November. Donald Trump really decimated the competition last night. You can see here John Kasich and Ted Cruz both idling well behind the front runner, Trump earning some 60% of the vote. He now needs just 393 more delegates to win the GOP nomination outright. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton beat her rival, Bernie Sanders, by a wider margin than any of the New York polls, in fact, had predicted. You can see it there, 58 to 42%. Heading into the next set of primaries now come next Tuesday. The former Secretary of State has about 80% of the delegates she would need to become her party's nominee. And Face the Nation moderator John Dickerson joins us now. John, going to do something a little different, I think, today. We're going to start with the Democrats coming off that big win for Hillary Clinton yesterday. A lot of descriptives are being used now a day after, as the Clinton camp heading into yesterday was tamping down expectations. But is it fair to say that this is a relieved campaign today?
Yes, I think, for a couple of reasons. Obviously, a double-digit win is a big deal. I think for the first time in a while, they are on the right side of expectations, which is a little bit of a silly thing, these expectations, where you're supposed to, how well you're supposed to do, and then whether you come in over or under those. However, regardless of how silly they are a part of politics and have been for a long time. There was a feeling that Bernie Sanders was getting closer, that he might be able to pull within single digits, maybe even, a small single digits. Well, she blew him out of the water, really, based on the amount of money and coverage he was getting and the sense of momentum that had gained from those many contests in a row that he had won. What this also does is it reaffirms the underlying math, which is to say that in a closed primary in a state that's diverse, Hillary Clinton does well. And obviously, this was a special case. She represented New York. But now it's really almost mathematically impossible for Sanders to come back. He would need the kind of gargantuan wins in future states that really rely more on miracle or religion or voodoo to get than could actually be achieved through reality. So it's a big night for her. And now the question is, how will Sanders respond? Miracle voodoo, though, he will hear none of it. He has said he'll go all the way to Philadelphia, even though he trails in delegates, and thus the increased rancor that we've seen in this campaign figures to continue. It has been an issue, though, John, bedeviling Republicans thus far, this one of party unity. But is it real now for the Democrats? I'm not sure. It depends on what Bernie Sanders does. It got ugly in New York, and that didn't work for him. And it also didn't work for him in terms of the way the numbers turned out, and it also didn't work in terms of him in terms of necessarily his brand. I think there's plenty of time to heal wounds in the Democratic Party. There's nothing too because the Republican nominee is likely to be somebody who's going to motivate the Democrats, and also there's time, and also there's olive branches that Hillary Clinton can extend to Bernie Sanders. So. It's also not crazy for him if he wanted to take it all the way to the convention in Philadelphia, as long as he continues to push for his message, which is one that in large measure Hillary Clinton agrees with. They quibble on some details, but the idea of rebalancing the economic system to help those who have not been, who've seen their wages rise in the last 20 years, they both agree on the big stuff. And you could certainly imagine a case in which he keeps running but doesn't really damage her. And that sets the conditions for a unity moment when they finally get together at the convention. Meanwhile, for the Republicans, as did Hillary Clinton, perhaps Donald Trump outperformed expectation, and that's saying something when you look at the numbers. What does it mean then for the Trump campaign moving forward? Well, it's a moment to reset his campaign. He's got a new top staff that's obviously made him a little bit more disciplined. He is being more restrained on the stump. And he does two things. One, he got a lot of delegates, more than even people might have expected, which is good in his march to the 1,237 that would give him a majority. But he also gets talking points in his new crusade, which is the fairness crusade. And that's basically arguing that even if he doesn't make the majority of delegates, he should get the nomination because he has the most votes and the most delegates going in. And every day he can keep making that case going forward. The win last night gave him a huge platform to do that. The people who want to stop him have no platform. There's no moment for them to come to the microphones. And so he gets a rallying cause on an attractive message of fairness that he can keep pushing all the way to June 7th, which is the last contest in California. So things are looking pretty good for him. The discipline plus the message plus the delegates, it's looking, and also the fact that Ted Cruz had a goose egg of a night, that's looking pretty good for Donald Trump.
It was an exponential defeat for Ted Cruz last night as he now joins John Kasich. Neither can win the nomination outright. They can no longer discuss mathematical paths. But Ted Cruz just a month ago was saying that a contested convention was the great hope of the Republican establishment. But here he is now in the same boat as John Kasich, essentially railbirding and hoping for chaos in Cleveland. Is it viable at this point that both can stay in this race and hope against hope?
Well, I think the only thing that's viable is that neither one of them pays a big price for staying in. I mean, Ted Cruz's brand is that he is kind of his own, follows his own mind. He's not captive of anything, and if he goes on and burns out at the convention, his brand will still be intact. That's true of John Kasich, who has a better sustainable argument in terms of just his long-term brand, which is I can beat Hillary Clinton in the fall, and the polls all show that. So usually what kicks people out is lack of money, or they turn into a laughingstock. I don't think that's going to happen with either of the two of them, but that's just their maintaining their brand. Can they do anything to stop Donald Trump? Somebody needs an argument for how they win in diverse parts of the country. Ted Cruz can win, but only in special places. Donald Trump has won everywhere. Ted Cruz also, absent that argument of victory, needs to be able to create such a compelling argument for why people should switch to him and create and upset the numbers that are going in Donald Trump's favor. He needs a really fantastic winning argument, just in terms of narrative punch, and he's not providing that yet either. So I'm not quite sure how it happens.
John Dickerson, we thank you.
Thanks, Josh.